my gosh, that's scary.
Yes, it is.
That is extremely scary.
Intense storms spawn devastating tornadoes. The WRAL weather team tracking the storms minute by minute as our team of reporters follow the trail of destruction.
It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it.
The Huntsboro Road section of Granville County appeared to be ground zero for this powerful storm, packing winds believed to be more than 100 miles an hour.
Mighty lucky, mighty lucky.
As quickly as that storm dropped on this community here in Granville County, it was gone. But let me give you an idea of how powerful these winds are with the help of photographer Zach Gooch. You're looking at a house virtually demolished by this storm. You can see the debris all in the tree.
Right now in WRAL News, an officer-involved shooting in Raleigh. We have team coverage from the scene, and we are just moments away from a live news conference with the Raleigh Police Chief. We begin with developing news of a police officer-involved shooting in Raleigh.
Tense and emotional day out here on Bragg Street. We want to show you a live picture right now of the crowds out here waiting for answers, waiting to get details about exactly what happened at around noontime today.
They killed my son for no reason. Everybody out here said he was running, didn't have a gun, trying to jump a fence, and that officer shot my son 7 times. For what? For nothing. We sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Why did you have to kill him?
Pastor Chris Jones says Dinkins did not have to die.
If he ran from you today, you could have arrested him tomorrow.
Right now on WRAL News, team coverage of the developing situation in Paris.
I'm Deborah Morgan on assignment in Paris. Today, the city is trying to return to a sense of normalcy. Coming up, we tell you how people here are trying to make sure the terrorists don't win. As roads reopen around the attack sites, mourners are trying to cover up the wounds. Flowers now sit in the holes made by gunfire Friday night. This is Le Carillon, a bar the attackers targeted first. They went to a Cambodian restaurant across the street next. 15 people died here.
People aren't laughing and as carefree as they were before.
Brian Zucker is from Kerry. He's been working in France for the past few months as a compliance attorney for SAS. He wasn't far from Le Carillon when the gunman started firing.
A band was playing Johnny Be Good, and people were dancing around the tables and having a great time. And then I got a text from a friend saying there had been a shooting, and the band stopped and people quit dancing. And then everybody realized it was a series of attacks. There were people in the streets and on the sidewalks talking, and a lady crying on a balcony, and some guys groaning on another balcony by hers, and people yelling down to the street trying to find out what had happened. It just felt like the most warm and loving place you could ever be. And then all of a sudden, all that was just lost.
Zucker says it was shocking, and he's left with a feeling of wanting to help. He was part of a moment of silence at SAS France, was part of a discussion on the difficult issue of balancing security and liberty, and heard thanks for support from America.
And they all talked about how they were really glad that people on Facebook in the U.S. had been putting the red, white, and blue stripes on their profile pictures and being very supportive. Yeah, it really did.
So the French people here really want to send the message that they want to keep living life, and that's the message that Brian Zucker wanted to send too.
Right now in WRAL News, our team coverage of the Pope's momentous visit continues.
The Pope has left the island. We're going to take a look at the impact his visit has had on other religions here in Cuba.
And David Crabtree reports live from our nation's capital as the Pontiff visits the U.S. for the first time. WRAL is traveling with the Pontiff. New at 5, live team coverage from Washington, D.C. and Cuba, where His Holiness just wrapped up a 5-day visit. The Pontiff thanked Cubans for the warm welcome and met with faithful followers before leaving the island for a flight to the U.S.
Deborah, it's an amazing scene right now. Thousands of people are still receiving communion following the Pope's homily. We also saw a 78-year-old Pope that looked a little tired. That's understandable. He spent the past 5 days in Cuba before coming to American soil. Also in Cuba has been WRAL's Layla Santiago, who joins us now live from Havana. Layla.
David, you know, the word of the day here has been hope. You ask any Cuban what they took away from that 5-day visit from Pope Francis, and that is what they will tell you.
Tonight at 7, Inside Cuba, a WRAL documentary. Journalist Layla Santiago takes you on a journey with extraordinary access inside Cuba. Come along on a quest to reunite a North Carolina family with childhood friends in Havana, separated for 5 decades.
She remembers.
Inside Cuba, a WRAL documentary, tonight at 7 on WRAL.
Lazaro Valdez practices Santeria, a religion with deep African roots on the island. He tells me Cubans are always looking for hope, no matter the religion. They respect all religions because they have all lived the same struggle. It wasn't until the early 90s that the government allowed people to openly practice their religion of choice. Valdez tells me he once had to hide this bracelet he wears openly today, a symbol of Santeria. Now, he and many others are keeping a close eye on the Pope and praying for something else. Maybe when the Pope speaks to the U.S. Congress, he tells me, our problems on the island will be solved.
This next story is simply amazing. Lost and wandering in the woods for days, a Harnett County man thought his life may be coming to an end, and the state, in the meantime, issued a silver alert.
Instead, he was rescued and lived to tell his tale of survival.
This is a picture of 88-year-old Lloyd Hall, the day he was found after being lost in the woods for nearly 4 days.
I didn't have no business in the woods to start with, but I didn't, I've been here 30 years.
This is Hall today, at home, recovering from what he calls the second most memorable experience in his life.
I was nearly gave out. My leg was hurting. I could not hardly, I still can't stand on my feet.
The former World War II vet says he wandered into the woods not far from his house on Sunday, September 27th. He gave me a day-by-day account of his efforts to get home. It's an incredible journey for a man who wears 2 hearing aids and is legally blind.
The hearing aids was no good. I done put them in my pocket, keep from losing them. I had fell down and sprang my glasses up till I put them in my pocket, because I know if I lost them, I wouldn't ever find them.
Hall says the neighbor's female dog stayed with him for 2 days.
I says, little lady, don't you know the way back home? And she'd look around. Yeah, she knew the way, but she didn't make no noise.
He thought for sure he would be found Tuesday when a Highway Patrol helicopter flew overhead.
He stopped right over me, and I was waving a white handkerchief. That's the only thing I had. And then the dog was walking around. And I was telling this, you're right over me, you're right over me. And he was. It was just above the trees.
But they didn't see him, and he spent another night in the woods.
I was just so tired, I just gave up. But I was not excited. I was at peace. I asked God if it's my time to just let me go to sleep and let me go easy.
Then late Wednesday afternoon, when he thought all was lost, he was found.
I opened my eyes, and there they were, and I just cried like a baby.
Hello, hello. Carl Fox has spent more time in the hospital than he's cared to over the last few months.
Yeah.
The Superior Court judge is battling blood cancer, and there's been a rallying cry to save the fox.
I've been very flattered and humbled by the fact that so many people have taken so much of their time to coordinate these events and zealously register people and swab people.
The judge's mission has been to raise awareness to the need for bone marrow donors. People have turned out in droves to the drives. And then there was this.
Dear Judge Fox,
my name is Charles Alston.
You were the district attorney during the course of my trial.
I received a 25-year sentence.
I ran across the article announcing your condition.
Inmate Charles Alston offered to sign up for the registry.
I know you are in need of a bone marrow.
The 62-year-old is serving a 27-year prison sentence for armed robbery. Carl Fox prosecuted him and put him there.
Well, I had a lot of hate for Mr. Fox. He sentenced me so much time. But I come to church a lot, so I found God. I thought maybe if I could do something for someone else, I would do it, I would do it.
The fact of the matter is, inmates can't be on the registry due to the risk of infectious diseases. But the letter, the gesture, well...
Totally surprised. I never would have thought that of all people that Charles Alston, Wendell Alston, would have been writing me to offered me the right hand of fellowship and, offered to do something to save my life.
That one letter, written inside the confines of barbed wire fence, may just symbolize the impact Fox has had on this community. Alston believes Fox may have very well saved his life by putting him behind bars. Now the inmate hopes someone else will step up and save the fox.
It was very nice of him. It was very nice of him.
I may or not be a match, but willing to make that sacrifice. My prayers be with you, Charles Alston.
This is a story that could have had a much different ending. I was there this morning for the congregation's first Sunday service of the year, and it really seemed like this is a church that has a new purpose through the troubles of one man. This is where they gather every Sunday, and this is where they gathered New Year's Eve to celebrate God and a new year.
There were children here.
Just before midnight, a man walked in, the first to see him, the pastor.
I asked him, can we help you? Can I help you?
I didn't see anything else but this big rifle.
His next words were, can you pray for me?
Charleston was the first thing that went through my mind. And then the man went up there to the altar. He put the gun up there.
Let the church say amen.
Days later, the congregation is still giving thanks. And just when we started to talk to the pastor about security in the church today,
and the security is the piece that we need. There's the young man now. Let him in. Yeah. Hey, what's going on? That's the young man right there. How you doing, man? Hallelujah. You all right? All right.
Is he out of the hospital? The very man responsible for the scare returns, this time to apologize. He asked us not to identify him. He is not facing charges.
What was going on in your mind?
He tells him his wife was just diagnosed with a debilitating disease. They're struggling financially. The power was just cut off at home. And on top of that, this veteran explains he is struggling with PTSD, partly because he cannot afford the medication.
And I saw in his eyes, hopelessness. I saw hurt, pain, despair.
He also admitted he's a convicted felon who was given a gun. He says he came to the church because he thought it would be a safe place to get rid of the gun and not get into trouble. He never meant any harm. In fact, on this Sunday, after saying thank you and asking for forgiveness, he asks if the congregation would allow him to be part of the Heal the Land outreach ministries.
And I pray that he comes back to visit us. I'm not scared of him. Not now.
Man, you in.
Because this congregation believes the night they opened the door to this very troubled man, they opened the door to God.
Peace for Pulse, a powerful picture showing courage and strength in Orlando one day after a nightclub massacre.
A very somber day here in Orlando as many wake up to learn the identities of more victims, the effort to move forward, the effort to come together.
The face of a repeat drunk driver. Since 2001, court records show Penny Seagroves has 8 DWI convictions.
I honestly really do believe that she is dangerous to the society, to the community.
Your high school or college-aged child critically injured and in a coma. You'd be able to step in and help with medical decisions, right? Maybe not. 5 on Your Side's Monica La Liberty is here now to explain how parents can be powerless. Monica?
They told us we should prepare for him not to wake up from his coma. I'm like, how do you prepare for that? It was a very, very difficult time.
Now, 5 years after a devastating snowboarding accident, Forrest is talking, walking, and rebuilding.
It was very cool.
It was good. It was good. Part of the mission now for his mom, Ray, to get parents to think about the unthinkable.
While he was still in a coma, we had to hire an attorney. We had to come back to our county, appear in court, have essentially a little mini trial.
All to get, in essence, legal guardianship to make decisions for Forrest when he couldn't.
Infertility is personal and painful. I'm doing this story because I've been there.
and I want to help.
And as time kept passing, it's so frustrating.
Time turned into 3 years, including 2 miscarriages and thousands of dollars spent on fertility treatments.
This one, it's like he's waving hi.
I know. Yeah, they're really cute.
Baby Lolito is due in October. And yes, there's also baby Lesage, about 12 weeks along after artificial insemination.
It's like we're just kind of like waiting for each doctor's appointment just to make sure things are still going okay.
So imagine, Linda, you bring home a baby girl and one day she announces she's a boy. Or you bring home a boy from the hospital and suddenly, as soon as he can talk, he tells you he's a girl. Well, even for the most loving families, this can be a big struggle, trying to understand, support your child, and perhaps most importantly, keep them from getting depressed or being bullied.
A strange twist of fate had taken place in utero.
She was born a boy.
I first questioned when I was 6 years old when I told my parents, I think I'm a girl. When I turned 8 years old, I asked for nothing but Barbie for my birthday.
And you look not very happy there.
Well, part of that was because they all wanted us to have our hair in these little buns.
23-year-old Kelton Hollister was born a girl.
I first started struggling with these issues when I was in late elementary school, early middle school.
Changing genders didn't seem realistic.
Growing up, it wasn't even really talked about. Like, it wasn't even on my radar.
Your gender is, and I say it's between your ears, but you know if you're male or you're female.
Faith, fear, and freedom. This live conversation is not about politics. We'll focus on our Muslim neighbors, their faith and experiences. We'll also talk with local Muslim leaders about identifying and reporting extremism, followed by a powerful WRAL documentary exploring the lives of local Muslims.
My name's Albert Jeffries. I go by LJ.
LJ can tell you all about Destiny, as in Destiny, the Taken King. It's a fast-action game with armies and villains on his Xbox.
You want to like master a character.
He can also tell you all about the slow drip of fluid invading his body, and why he now has to call a nurse.
Can I help you? It says upstream.
Upstream. It means there's a pressure change in his IV. Nothing serious. LJ spends his every day here in room 5C23 at the UNC Children's Hospital.
What was the hardest part, being in the hospital every day?
The hardest part is like, you know, just wondering when I'm going to be getting my heart.
Albert Jeffries IV, that's his full name, has been waiting for a new heart since he was a newborn. At 4 months old, doctors found that he had an enlarged and weak heart.
The doctors even told us he's not going to survive the night. He's not.
His mom, Tina Turner, would not believe it. And look at him now. He's 13 years old, fighting aliens and villains.
But right now, his condition is quite grave. I'm just going to take a quick listen.
Dr. Scott Buck is LJ's cardiologist. For most of his life, LJ managed the disease with a few hospital stays and outpatient treatments. But in December, his heart began to weaken like never before. He's been in the hospital ever since.
And we really exhaust all of the conventional medical therapeutic options before offering a transplant, and that's where LJ is now.
Because of his age and condition, LJ is at the top of the list for a transplant. But with a transplant comes the knowledge that someone young has to die so that LJ can live.
Through death comes life.
What's giving life to LJ now is that slow drip of fluid. It's called Milrinone, and it helps the heart keep pounding.
As the days go by and the Milrinone keeps dripping, you know, I wonder what's going on inside of his body. Is his body going to be able to hold out?
LJ assures his mom to hold out hope.
What do you tell her?
Dad, do not worry, and I'm still here, okay, and stable, and I'm still going to be here.
He has a Facebook page called Team LJ. Here's a picture of LJ with a football signed by the Carolina Panthers. Keep pounding.
LJ is what keeps me strong. I think that people say, how do you do it? You know, you've had a son sick for 14 years. How do you stay strong, girl? I don't know how you did it, you know, and I'm like, you know, he's the one that keeps me strong.
They're strong in their faith, Mom and LJ, and believe a strong new heart is their destiny.